Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajapacharya Ashto Tarasatashi Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And thank you everyone for being here for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Monday, January 9th, 2022 in New York, a day later in Vrindavan. And we are reading in the third canto, 12th chapter, the creation of the Kumaras and others. Very much looking forward to hearing your comments and questions. And if you'd like to lead tonight's closing kirtan, please let me know. That would be great. And yeah, we're so happy you could be with us, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kendra Prabhu, and thank you to all. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chaturhotram Karma Tantram Upaveda Nyayasaha Dharmasya Padas Chatvaras Tatayavashrama Vrittayaha. The four kinds of paraphernalia for conducting the fire sacrifice became manifest. The performer, the chanter, the offerer, the fire, and the action performed in terms of the supplementary Vedas. Also, the four principles of religiosity, truth, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness, and the duties in the four social orders all became manifest. I want to bring this report. Eating, sleeping, defending, and mating are the four principles of material bodily demands, which are common to both the animals and human society. To distinguish human society from the animals, there's the performance of religious activities in terms of the social statuses and orders of life. They are all clearly mentioned in the Vedic literatures. They were manifested by Brahma when the four Vedas were generated from his four mouths. Thus, the duties of humankind in terms of the statuses and social orders were established to be observed by the civilized man. Those who traditionally follow these principles are called Aryans, or progressive human beings. Om Jnana Timidantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Upakada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Dr. Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we see the various necessities for creation. Srila Prabhupada comments on especially Dharmasya Padas, Shatvadas, before principles of religion. And again, it's so significant that Srila Prabhupada, how Srila Prabhupada conceives of religion. He doesn't conceive of it merely as a set of rituals to be performed or allegiance to a particular church or sect, but he sees it as a, or even as sort of piety, but he sees it as a system of duty for human beings. Everyone has some duty to perform in relation to the social order and to the personality of Godhead. Dharmasya, the dharma, yes, is prescribed in such a way that everyone will advance in human society. Material demands can be met even in animal life, but human beings are meant for following principles of the social order for the service of the personality of Godhead. And that connects us with Krishna and helps us advance toward the goal of reviving our eternal relationship with Krishna. All right. Any questions here or comments? Okay. Let me just see, there's one more thing. Yeah. Upavedas appear, the supplementary knowledge, supplementary literature. You would get your Dhanurveda and your Ayurveda and your Jyotish and all of that. And scriptures on logic. Okay. Viduro vacha Sabaya Vishvasrajam Isho Vedadin Mukhato Srijat Yad Yad Yena Srijat Devas Tan Me Bruhi Tapodhana. Vidura said, O great sage, whose only wealth is penance, kindly explain to me how and with whose help Brahma established the Vedic knowledge which emanated from his mouth. Well, really would be from his mouths. And Tapodhana, his real wealth is austerity. This is the wealth of the Brahmins. Maitreya Vacha Rigyaju Samatarvakyan Vedan Purvari Pir Mukai Shastram Ijyam Stuti Stomam Prayas Chittam Vyatat Kramad. Maitreya said, beginning from the front face of Brahma, gradually the four Vedas, Rik, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, became manifest. Thereafter, Vedic hymns, which had not been pronounced before, priestly rituals, the subject matters of the recitation, and transcendental activities were all established, one after another. Ayurvedam Dhanurvedam Gandharvam Vedam Atmanaha Stapatyam Chasrajad Vedam Kramat Purvadi Bir Mukai. He also created the medical science, military art, musical art, and architectural science, all from the Vedas. They all emanated one after another, beginning from the front face. All right, so your supplementary knowledge of this type is coming here. The Vedas contain perfect knowledge, which includes all kinds of knowledge necessary for the human society, not only on this particular planet, but on other planets as well. It is understood that military art is also necessary knowledge for the upkeep of social order, as is the art of music. All these groups of knowledge are called the Upapurana, or supplements of the Vedas. Spiritual knowledge is the main topic of the Vedas, but to help the human being's spiritual pursuit of knowledge, the other information, as above mentioned, forms necessary branches of the Vedic knowledge. Yes, so we have Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, medical knowledge, military knowledge, Gandharva Veda, the musical knowledge, Stapatyam, architecture, the carving of deities is also included there. All of these gradually appear. Itihasa Puranani Panchamam Vedamishadaha Sarvebhya Eva Vaktrebhya Sasrije Sarvadarsanaha. Then he created the fifth Veda, the Puranas and the histories from all his mouths, since he could see all the past, present, and future. Purport. There are histories of particular countries and nations and of the world, But the Puranas are the histories of the universe, not only in one millennium, but in many kalpas. Brahma has knowledge of those historical facts, and therefore all the Puranas are histories. As originally composed by Brahma, they are part of the Vedas and are called the fifth Veda. Sometimes the Puranas and Itihasas are deprecated. There are spiritual groups in India that decry the Vedic knowledge, decry the knowledge of the Puranas and the Itihasas. We only follow the Vedas. We're the pure guys. And there's been arguments that they did this in response to British characterization of the Puranic histories as mythology and as sort of primitive stories and so on. So they said, no, we just go with the Vedas. If there are volume problems, you can tell me.
Everything's fine on this end, Maharaj.
Okay. So so we have this purist school that says, no, we just go with the Vedas and we don't pay attention to the Puranas or Itihasas. We don't consider them authoritative. Therefore, one of the offenses in the holy name, against the holy name, is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. But in any case, in the Chandogya Upanishad, the Puranas and Itihasas are mentioned as the fifth Veda. That means the Vedas themselves confer authority, if you will, on the Puranas and Itihasas. So if we accept the Vedas, we have to accept the Puranas and Itihasas. We can't cut out what has been accepted by the Vedas themselves. On the very authority of the Vedas that we're trying to establish, and by which we're trying to exclude the Puranas, the Puranas and Itihasas are established. All right. Anything further here? Okay. And in fact, Jiva Goswami has argued that the essence of the Vedic knowledge Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments here that the fifth Veda embodies all the Vedas, and Jiva Goswami has argued extensively in the Sandarbhas that the essence of all the Vedic knowledge is to be found in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes. Okay. Shodashukta Purvavaktra Purishyak Studavata Aptoryamat Tiratraucha Vajapayam Sagosavam. All the different varieties of fire sacrifices, Shodashi, Ukta, Purishi, Agnishtoma, Aptoryama, Atiratra, Vajapaya, and Gosava, became manifested from the eastern mouth of Brahma. Now, these are all technical terms. We're not going to get involved with fire sacrifices and all of that. Yagyai Sankirtana Prior Yujanti Hi Sumeda Saha. In the Kali Yuga, the essential sacrifice is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Vidya Dhanam Tapas Satyam Dharmasyeti Padani Cha Ashramamscha Yata Sankyam Asrajat Sahavrittibihi. Education, charity, penance, and truth are said to be the four legs of religion. And to learn this, there are 4 orders of life with different classifications of castes according to vocation. Brahma created these all in systematic order. Purport: the nucleus of the 4 social orders, brahmacharya, or student life, grihastha, or householder, family life, vanaprastha, or retired life for practicing penance, and sannyas, or renounced life for preaching the truth, is the 4 legs of religion. The vocational divisions are the Brahmins, the intelligent class, Kshatriyas, administrative class, Vaishyas, mercantile, productive class, and the Shudras, or general laborer class, who have no specific qualifications. All were systematically planned and created by Brahma for the regular promotion of self-realization. Student life is meant for acquiring the best education. Household, family life is meant for gratifying the senses, provided it is performed with a charitable disposition of mind. Retirement from householder life is meant for penance, for advancement in spiritual life, and renounced life is meant for preaching the absolute truth to the people in general. The combined actions of all members of society make the whole situation favorable for the upliftment of the mission of human life. The beginning of this social institution is based on education meant for purifying the animal propensities of the human being. The highest purificatory process is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the purest of the pure. There's a lot here created by Brahma: knowledge, charity, austerity, and truth, which Srila Prabhupada links to the 4 social orders. Vidya, education, to the brahmachari training. Dhanam, charity, to householder life, because charity is the duty of the householder. Tapa, he links to retired life. And Satyam, preaching the absolute truth, he links to sannyas. Dharmasyeti Padanicha, as we find in the first canto, there are 4 legs to the bull of religion: austerity, truthfulness, mercy, and charity. Yes, austerity and education. Let's do it this way: education, charity, austerity, and truthfulness. And these 4 also are destroyed by intoxicants, meat eating, gambling, and illicit sex. Therefore, these principles prohibiting those four things are to be followed. Ashramamstra yata sankhya masrajat sarvitibi. So Brahma created these four orders, Chaturvarnam Maya Shrishtam, Gunakarma Vibhagasham. Srila Prabhupada paraphrased Krishna. These four orders of life are everywhere. Four castes are everywhere because they're created by me, by Krishna. Or here we find they're created on Krishna's behalf by Lord Brahma. And therefore they're inherent everywhere, even if they're not recognized. Even in societies that decry social hierarchy and caste systems and all of that, still we find that there are different people with different occupations according to their capabilities, according to their qualities. So this system is everywhere, or these, the need for this system is everywhere, and the basic constituents are everywhere, but it needs to be properly organized, and therefore the Varnashram system is there. Any comments or questions so far? Now let's see if I've missed something. Savitram Prajapatyam cha Brahmam chata Brihattata Varta Sanchaya Shalina Shiloncha Iti Vaigrahe. Then the thread ceremony for the twice born was inaugurated, as were the rules to be followed for at least 1 year after acceptance of the Vedas, rules for observing complete abstinence from sex life, vocations in terms of Vedic conjunctions, various professional duties in household life, and the method of maintaining a livelihood without anyone's cooperation by picking up rejected grains. Purport. During student life, the brahmacharis were given full instructions about the importance of the human form of life. Thus, the basic education was designed to encourage the student in becoming free from family encumbrances. Only students unable to accept such a vow in life were allowed to go home and marry a suitable wife. Otherwise, the student would remain a permanent brahmachari, a permanent brahmachari, observing complete abstinence from sex life for his whole life. It all depended on the quality of the student's training. We had the opportunity to meet an avowed brahmachari in the personality of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj. Such a great soul is called a Naistik brahmachari. So there are divisions of brahmachari life. They're mentioned by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The Savitra is the brahmachari, the student who remains brahmachari for 3 nights. Prajapatya, a year, until learning the Vedas, Brahma, and Brihat means the vow of lifelong brahmacharya. Prabhupada mentions these, I believe, in the Krishna book also, these 4 divisions. The basic principle is avoid householder life altogether if you can. That will save a lot of trouble and enable one to focus on spiritual realization. Otherwise, remain brahmachari until you've finished your Vedic studies. Otherwise, at least a year. Otherwise, 3 days. And we've heard elsewhere that there's even a vow to remain brahmachari, at least for a day. One of our sannyasis was once asked, what's the use of just being celibate for a day? And the sannyasi replied, one day he'll look back and he'll say, that was the happiest day of my life. So, in any case, these divisions are there for gradual progress according to what the student is able to undertake. Then this Varta, Sanchaya, Shalina, Silonsha. These are also different kinds of means of earning a livelihood. Especially, I'm not wrong, these are, well, no, I'm going to try to peg them to Vanapasta life without checking to see if I have it right. But they're described that Shalina means not depending on anyone. Shila Uncha, just collecting rejected grains. Vishnu says Sanchaya means performing sacrifices. Shalina, taking alms without begging. Silonchana, just taking fallen grains in the field. In this way, we get different means of livelihood, and therefore the householders. Okay.
There's a hand up, Maharaj.
Oh, so there is, Tulsi Priya.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my obeisances. So my question is that once, many years ago, I looked up the etymology and the dictionary meaning of celibate, and it seems like in the very strict sense of the word, it means an unmarried person. Because as we all know, you can be unmarried and not refraining from sexual relations, in which case you're, it's accepted now, but there used to be other words for people like that. And so my question is that it seems that this Vedic conception of brahmacharya means you're raised that way. From the beginning of your life, you go into student mode and you're a brahmachari, which means that you've never had a girlfriend. And if you stay brahmachari, you never get married. So I once knew a brahmachari who had been brahmachari at least since he joined ISKCON, and maybe there's a good chance that he never had a girlfriend in his life. But for a brief period, he thought he wanted to get married, and he was having some proper association with a young woman. And then he decided, no, he didn't really want to be married. So my question is, does he qualify as a Naistika brahmachari if he'd never actually had a girlfriend, but had that brief period of association with a woman? And do any brahmacharis who have previously had girlfriends, things like that, do they qualify as brahmacharis if they stay brahmachari once they become devotees?
Well, these are technical questions, of course. Someone's never gotten married, never really gotten anywhere with a woman, but there was some, what would you say, arrangement for some brief time that never went anywhere. So, it's like a technical question, which I won't try to answer because I don't really see the point of trying to answer it. It's an exceptional case, and I'll leave it to the rabbis to argue over it. As far as those whose background was not a background of celibacy, this is all, what would you say? We're trying to reconstruct things or pull things back together as far as possible in the ideal Vedic system, or in the Vedic system, ideal or not ideal, or even in the former European and American society. It was understood that till you reached an appropriate age, you didn't mess around in these ways. Of course, American Europe, we wouldn't try to dig out too high a historical standard. But certainly in Vedic society, this was the conception that we avoid strictly the association between man and woman, unless there's marriage. So the brahmacharis would be brahmacharis until they got married. That was the system. But now, of course, you get people who are engaged in all the affairs of married life except taking responsibility, and then who become brahmacharis. So that's our, what shall we say, reconstructive work. That's our reconstructive work. Just as you have, like in dentistry, reconstructive surgery, we know what teeth are supposed to be, but somehow they're messed up. And so we try to put it back together again and reconstruct the way they're supposed to be. So one has to make the best of a bad bargain, the bad bargain being the social atmosphere of Kali Yuga, and retrieve people for brahmachari life. This was Prabhupada's approach, not just to say, well, everybody's messed up, so, whatever they're doing, that's their business. But to revive the brahmachari ashram, first by recruiting men and insisting that they follow these 4 regulative principles, which meant if they weren't married, then they would have to be celibate, essentially brahmacharis. And then also by attempting to revive the Gurukul system, in which the boys would actually be trained as brahmacharis and have the best opportunity for freedom from householder entanglement, sex life altogether. That was his approach. So again, are these retrieved brahmacharis worthy of being called brahmacharis and so on? We'll leave that for someone else to argue about. But Prabhupada accepted them as brahmacharis, or Prabhupada made them brahmacharis. So we accept his approach.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Praveen says, I've heard from one devotee that brahmachari means serving in the Guru's ashram. So brahmachari for 3 days or 1 week means he serves in the ashram of the Guru for that period. Else, even if he's not married and not serving in the Guru's ashram or the mission of the Guru, he is not considered a brahmachari. Well, again, that's a question of how you, that's one angle of vision, certainly. A brahmachari guru kule, vasandanta guru hitam. Brahmachari should go to the ashram of the Guru. That's the business of the brahmachari. So one can look at it that way. It's kind of like people who say, you know, these American cows. That is not cow. That is not cow, because it doesn't have a dewlap, it doesn't have a hump. So that is not cow. But we accept, Prabhupada accepted the Guernseys and the Jerseys and the Brown Swiss as cows. And others may say, no, that's not a cow. Cow means this. So, all right, depends how you want to draw the lines. But again, Prabhupada accepted brahmacharis of different categories. Saraswati says, the program for all castes and orders of life is well chalked out. But can there be a danger of imbalance of males, females ratio or percentage of population at age groups that give stability to civilization? Well, yes, it's well chalked out. An imbalance of males and females, it's a danger for the females, really. It's not a danger for the males. The danger for the males is women, so they escape that danger. But the danger for the females is not having a husband. So that your brahmachari life does create that issue. Therefore, in the Vedic civilization, a man could marry more than one wife, and that compensates for those who decide to remain brahmacharis. Prabhupada one time said, he said, they're spoiled anyway, so let them accept more than one wife. But then Prabhupada decided that for his kind, that wouldn't be good. It would attract people who would come just for the sake of getting many wives. What more can we say about that? The danger doesn't seem tremendous because the number of people willing to commit themselves to a life of Naishtik brahmacharya, especially in the present age, is considerably less than overwhelming. Anything more? How off things are from the social order when you have people who are just living together and that's as good as marriage, or people now it's sort of the tryout. It becomes the norm that we live together, and if we like it, maybe we'll get married or maybe we won't. This is all way far away from Vedic civilization, or probably would simply say from civilization. This is just animal life, according to the Vedic perspective. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Maharaj,
Yes.
I was just thinking, the last thing you were talking about, how the society is degraded. It's like even when there was slavery in this country, the slaves would want to get married. They didn't just, they were treated like animals, but they didn't want to live like animals, and they would have their own weddings and things like that. And we don't even have that now.
Yeah, the lower classes would still be more advanced than the modern upper classes. Yeah. Gotcha. Vaikanasa Valakilyao Dumbara Penapabane Nyase Kutichuka Purvam Pavodo Hansanishkriyao. The four divisions of retired life are the Vaikanas, Valakilyas, Audumbaras, and Penapas. The four divisions of the renounced order are Kutichak, Bhavoda, Hamsa, and Niskriyas. All these were manifested from Brahma. Commentary. Varnashram Dharma, or the institution of the four divisions and orders of social and spiritual life, is not a new invention of the modern age, as proposed by the less intelligent. It is an institution established by Brahma from the beginning of the creation. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam. The Vanaprastha and Sannyas ashrams are further divided each into four for the sake of progressive detachment and advancement. The word-for-word meanings, Vaikanas, are those who retire from active life and live on half-boiled meals. Valakilya, they quit their former stock of grains when they get more. Audumbara, though they live on what they get from the direction toward which they start after rising from bed. And Penapa, those who live on fruit that automatically falls from the trees in the forest. And then there's Sannyas, Kutichak. He builds a little kutir, a little hut, just on the edge of the village, still a little connection with the family, not with the wife, but with the family, so that he starts to think that, yes, my necessities are not so difficult. Then Bhavoda, giving up all material activities and engaging fully in transcendental service. Hamsa, engaged in transcendental knowledge. And Nishkriyo, stopping all kinds of activities. So these are four progressive stages from each of these two ashrams. The theme in both is gradually increasing detachment and coming closer to in service to the personality of God. Any comments or questions here?
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Heshpandit Prabhu.
So originally, it seems like Vedas and all the Puranas and Itihas and everything came from Brahma. But over the period, it was lost, and the Vasudev had to revive the whole thing. And he just gave us about 5,000 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, that is how it appears. They're existing since the time of the creation, but they're existing in the form of sound. We hear that the four Vedas are entrusted to their respective rishis, and then the various departments of knowledge, the Dhanurveda, the Ayurveda, and also the Puranas and so on. They're entrusted to various sages, and it's coming down orally. So Vyasadeva compiles Vedic knowledge and puts it into writing. That's what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else here? Okay. So we can stop here and have kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paripajikacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navdeep Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Panchatattva Prabhu, and thank you to Haridas and Meena and Kendra and all. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Jai.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shraddha. And Jai.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jayadvaita Maharaj ki jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande
Hari Hari.